Koeberg is the country's only nuclear power station. With its 2 reactor units, it has the capacity to generate some 1,800 megawatts for the national grid. The return of Unit 1, taken offline for maintenance, refueling and the replacement of 3 steam generators, has been delayed. It will not be back in commission by the 23rd of July, as initially expected. Ramokgopa is assessing the performance of various power stations.
I was with Koeberg now. So they are delaying in bringing to stream 920 megawatts. That has nothing to do with corruption. It has everything to do with planning. I was in Kusile, 6 units, 5 are out. That has nothing to do with corruption. It's the design modification that requires attention. I was at Krill. The issue has nothing to do with corruption. It's about investment in the cooling towers, and in that we are able to ramp up, if you like, a generation of the individual units. I was in Kendal, nothing to do with corruption. We are exceeding our emission limits, if you like, the environmental licensing parameters. So they have to bring down, if you like, the efficiency of the individual power stations. So what do? You invest in the cooling stations so that you are able to ramp up the units to their full capacity.
Engineers at Koeberg say the replacement of the steam generators, of which the first one was removed this week, is taking place while the unit is down for maintenance.
So it's part of the process that we need to do, but what we're doing now is not the assurance of getting into a long-term operation. It's the part of the activities we need to do, and we're hoping that the regulator will see it the same way as we do and grant us the license to operate for extended period.
Ramokgopa earlier visited the Ankerlig power station in Atlantis. It's one of the country's gas turbine power plants with a capacity to produce just over 1,300 megawatts. Underperformance by the country's coal-powered stations and Koeberg places unintended strain on the open-cycle gas turbine power plants.
Ideally, we should not be using Ankerlig and many other peaking stations, because once you engage those peaking stations, simply means that there's underperformance of, if you like, the coal-powered power stations, the 13 plus Koeberg. And what they do is to ensure that they close the gap in the demand, so that they were able to meet the demand without compromising the integrity of the system. So you can see that over a period of time we've been engaging, running hard those peaking stations. We should be running them at about 5%, we are running them at about 21%. So that tells you a lot about the underperformance of the fleet of power stations in Eskom.
Ramokgopa says at the 7 power stations he's visited so far, there's nothing to suggest that corruption is the cause of underperformance. He says it's not anticipated that load shedding will escalate above stage 6 during peak demand in winter. Vanessa Puna, SABC News, Cape Town.